Hello and welcome to the van build vlog. I'm a bit fed up of the van looking like some sort of space capsule with all the silver vapour barrier showing. So I've decided to crack on with putting a bit of the carpet up. Not everything inside the van is going to be carpeted, but this wall behind the bed is going to have carpet on it, so I'm having a first go at it. What I've done is use those extendable spring-loaded spring things that I used to put the ceiling insulation up to hold this basically large square chunk of carpet tight against the wall. I'm now going to use the trim fix adhesive, spray all over the top, spray all over the wall, and push this first bit of carpet up until that is stuck. When that is stuck, I can then take the spring-loaded things out and spray around the rest of the carpet just bit by bit and end up doing all the curvy bits and the edges, and I will trim it with scissors and do little bits of spraying as I go, and I'm hoping that that will be okay. But I've never done it before, like much of this, so it'll be just an experiment. Okay, alright. That can now stick, and once I'm confident that's stuck, I can lift up the bottom bit and start to do some more. I give up. How do people actually do this without firstly spraying half the carpet with glue on the wrong side? It's covered in it. And secondly, spraying half the carpet with blood from cutting your finger. This is light blue with delicate hint of blood red. Yuck. And ouch. Right, after an awful lot of gluing, cutting, some blood, that is the first side wall, and in fact the main piece of carpeting, because the other wall isn't going to be carpeted. I tell you this, whoever says that these carpets are stretchy to go round contours and corners is lying. I've had to do so many of these little cuts because as you try putting the carpet round the corner and up, it just rucks up and you can't get rid of it. So you end up having to slice it, and then it folds over itself and you take a diagonal slice out and you can then butt the two ends together. And I've had to do so many of those. It's just ridiculous. There's another one down there, and I've tried to hide them as best I can, and in fact this is going to be behind a cupboard, so it doesn't really matter. And the most annoying one of all is that when I squeezed this carpet around here, it all shifted up a bit, and where I thought I'd left loads of space, there's this wretched, I'm infuriated about this little triangle, and I couldn't pull it down from above because it was already glued up above. So again, this is going to be in a cupboard, but I'm still going to fill that with something because it's annoying. Obviously also glue everywhere, not just behind the carpet where I wanted it, but on the wood, on me, on the front of the carpet. This stuff is messy. Here's the really weird thing. I bought absolutely acres of carpet, and inexplicably, having now done that, I don't have enough left to do the back doors or many of the other bits. I've been hacking away at it so much that I've just got little shreds left of all the rest. So I'm going to have to order a load more. You may recall I said I would get round to the wiring in the fullness of time as and when it was due. Well, that time is pretty much now, at least for the very first bits. I've started to wire in the lights for the ceiling. Here is the rear ceiling panel into which I have drilled 2 holes. I'm not even sure they're showing up on camera, but there's one there and there's one there. And those are for the wires coming out the back of the lights to go through. And now I just need to drill 2 tiny, tiny little holes which will actually screw the lights on. Because this wood is so thin, it's only about 4mm ply, there's not a lot for these screws to bite into, so I've just cut off some offcuts of more 4mm ply which I'll go underneath and give the screws 8mm to actually screw into. And now, because the screws still protrude out on the underside, I'm going to cut them off using my multi-tool. And those are now nicely flattened off, and I can actually get to doing the wiring. As you can see, I've put little spade terminals crimped on to the end of the wires coming off the LEDs, and then the wire coming out below, this one is the one that goes off to the campervan battery, also with little spade terminal things. And those are uncomfortably close with bare metal, so I'm going to wrap some tape around those to stop them touching, otherwise they'll short. Right, that is now joined and taped. Obviously I could have soldered these, but soldering tiny little wires single-handed without a thing to hold the wires is actually quite fiddly. It's easier just to put some spades on and push them together. And there we have the front ceiling panel all screwed in. The cable for the lights temporarily comes out like that, but it will be tidied up later on. Now it gets more interesting because, of course, I have to take into account the extractor fan, which weirdly doesn't come with an exit hole for this wire. So as you can see, I've drilled a little hole there so that this wire can come out. Remember, we're looking at the underside, the top of the roof, so this won't be visible. So this will come out this way, and I can now connect that up to the wire that will power it, and then the whole thing can go in place, hopefully as if by magic.
Oh, this is not going to be easy. Not least because I left my house not out of reach, which is not helpful. Oh, right, these wires need to be inside. Isn't helpful there. Oh, come on, wires. There we go, that's a start. Now, let's swap that in there. Okay. Right. Please don't mess up. You are having a giraffe. That's supposed to be like that. Oh, shit. Right, this could all be going horribly wrong.
Despite holding this ceiling board up to the fan and test fitting it with the front ceiling board in place as well, just as they are now, the two are now, today, the day I decide to actually screw them into place, not fitting. It's as if this hole has moved about 1 centimetre towards the back, which can't be the case because the board is still the same length and it's up at exactly the same spot. So I'm going to have to in situ trim a little bit from that board. That is weird. I've had a little ponder, and I think what I'm going to do is screw the front edge into place, screw the back edge into place, and then it will hold it still while I chop a little bit off this. Touch wood. Literally. It is now a good couple of hours later. I'm hot, bothered, sweaty. I did stop for lunch, but I have finally got the fan in. With hindsight, I shouldn't have screwed the panel in to hold it in place so that I'd know where I was cutting, because as soon as I tried starting to cut it, I realised I was going to have a terrible job. I attempted first of all with the jigsaw in situ. That was a really bad idea, and I abandoned that within the first couple of jigs of the saw. And then I realised I had a problem, because without the jigsaw, the only thing I had left to do any sort of trimming of the hole was this very blunt file. And I didn't want to take the ceiling panel out again, having put it up, because every time, of course, you unscrew and rescrew wood screws, well, you end up stripping the wood, don't you? And you end up with just a hole rather than a thread, and then nothing stays up. So I wanted to leave it in situ. So I've been jabbering away with this stupid file, just trying to get a little bit of space off, and then I realised that I'd drilled the hole for the exit wire for the fan coming out towards the front, whereas it needs to come out towards the side in order for there to be enough space for it to go between the ceiling board and the insulation, because going that way towards the front, it runs straight into a block of wood that was supporting the fan. So I had to drill a new hole, and that meant I had to pull all the wiring out and put new clips on. Anyway, it's been a nuisance, but I have finally got the darn thing in place, and that's it. It had better never ever need to come out again. And here it is again, this time with the fly screen installed and the little white plastic things put over the screw heads so that it all just looks like white plastic. With the floor in and the ceiling now in, I can answer a long-held question, and that is how much headroom I would actually have if I was sitting in here on the bed couch thing. Would I have in fact left myself enough headroom? And the answer to that is yes. I'm sitting on a footstool that I normally have in the boat, and the back edge of the footstool is the same height as the wheel arch, which is about the same height as the bed is going to be. It's also a comfortable height for me to sit on, and look, actual headroom. I mean, that's only a couple of inches, and arguably then I could have put some insulation on the floor, but I'd have been, you know, the hair would have been touching the roof. So I think I'm happy to have that little bit of wiggle room and not feel that I'm actually touching the roof. So all in all, I'm quite pleased. I can sit here, leaning against my carpeted wall, switch the lights on above my head, breathe in the lovely countryside air through the fan. It's good. I might even, before the van is finished, just take it out and you know, throw a sleeping bag in it and a cool box and a little portable gas cooker or something, go and have an adventure in it before it's actually ready. See what it's like. But where to? That's the question.